Good morning. Good morning. Oh, and so the title of today's talk is Planting Seeds. And this is such a rich concept because we are all both the gardener and the garden. We are all both the farmer and the field. So for a moment, just imagine that in your mind's eye, that you are the gardener. You've got your gardening gloves, you've got your bucket, you've got your shovel and your spade and your watering can and your hat, potting soil, and that you are also that rich, fertile ground. You are that which is about to be planted upon or planted in. We are all both. As infants still in the womb, we take in the world around us, the sounds, the energy, the vibration, our mother's heartbeat. We are already this fertile ground. Seeds are already being planted. We're the recipients of messages from before we enter this world. And as little ones, we are eager to connect, to communicate with these big human people around us who are taking care of us and feeding us. And we're eager to communicate. I love to see videos of little babies, just months old, that are so focused. They're so focused on the mouths of the adults around them. And you can see they're trying to mimic, they're trying to make their mouths do what the adults are doing. They're trying to connect so that they can communicate. When we're small, we maybe read bedtime stories. We pick up energies from our family around the dining room table or wherever the family is gathered, whatever is going on around us. We might be entertained by the television or by music or by nature. We are definitely a garden when we are small. We are the field. We are being affected. We're being impressed and imprinted with messages, both positive and negative. We're being imprinted with these messages about who we are, about how we fit or don't fit in our world. We're being imprinted with messages about our world at large, about strangers, about others. We come into this world with only two fears. As babies, we have the fear of loud noises and a fear of falling, of being dropped. Those are the only two fears we come into this world with. All of our other fears have been planted. Now, that doesn't mean that they're all irrational, although we can recognize many as just that. But they are learned. They are learned fears. We may have received messages when we were small of amazing affirmation as a child, that we possess unlimited potential and that the world is our oyster. Or, depending on the time period or the experiences that our parents and the adults around us lived through and their own personalities, we may have received very different messages about ourselves and about our world. The world in general has been more than anxious to let all of us know how lacking we are. That's the world of marketing, of advertising. We must first be convinced that we need that product before we can possibly go out and buy it, whatever it might be. And so we're bombarded with messages that we're not enough, we're not pretty enough or handsome enough, we're not thin enough, we're not well dressed enough, not stylish, we don't own the right stuff, the newest stuff. And it can be exhausting if we let it be. It takes a conscious effort to remain grounded in knowing who we are as children of God, to not be influenced from the outside, to not accept ourselves as being judged less than in any way. And in Unity, we see this as our work. We are the garden and the field, and any weeds, any thorns, no matter how deeply rooted, are to be discovered uprooted, examined, and discarded over and over until we are nothing but rich, fertile ground for good. We don't get to languish in the ain't it awful, the ain't it awfulness of our past, regardless of how awful our past might have been. We have all been influenced by friends and family, neighbors, society, the world at large, both kind and unkind, every one of us. And the work is ours to do, individually and with spirit, as our strength and as our guide to become the very best versions of ourselves, to express the Christ of our nature. We are the garden. We are the field, and we decide what that looks like, how we want to express in the world, what weeds to keep and which to release, which seedlings to allow to flourish and to blossom into the fullness of our lives. And we are each receivers of the seeds of spirit, receiving inspired ideas, holy seeds, divine guidance. And we hold the intention to be fertile ground. That's the intention each one of us want for our highest and greatest good, to be fertile ground, to be open and receptive and allowing of these divine seeds to flourish within us. For Spirit is always speaking to us, always guiding us, always loving us, always planting seeds. And we choose wisely. We're also the gardeners, the planters, the farmers of our world. We sow the seeds. We sow them in our mind and in our hearts, messages about ourselves and messages about our world, both kind and unkind. And we plant these same seeds among others in how we live our lives. And we're reminded in the Gospel of Mark in chapter 4 about planting seeds. I'm going to share with you some passages here, and it begins in speaking about Jesus. And from the Gospel of Mark, it said, "And again he began to teach beside the sea, and a very large crowd had gathered. And he taught them many things in parables. Listen, a sower went out to sow, and as he sowed, some seed fell along the path, and the birds came and devoured it. Other seed fell on rocky ground, where it had not much soil, and immediately it sprang up, since it had no depth of soil. And when the sun rose, it was scorched, and since it had no root, it withered away. Other seed fell among thorns, and thorns grew up and choked it, and it yielded no grain. And other seeds fell into good soil and brought forth grain, growing up and increasing and yielding 30-fold and 60-fold and 100-fold. It's talking about planting seeds. And then he goes on in this Gospel of Mark. He goes on to clarify the parable for his listeners. He interprets the story metaphysically. Yes, Jesus interprets this parable metaphysically. He says to them, "Do you not understand the parable? Then how will you understand any of the parables? The sower sows the word. The sower sows the word. And these are the ones along the path where the word is sown. And when they hear, Satan, which we interpret as forgetting who we are, believing in separateness, immediately comes and takes away the word which is sown in them. And these, in like manner, are the ones sown upon rocky ground, who, when they hear the word, immediately receive it with joy, but they have no root in themselves. They're not grounded, but endure for a while. Then when tribulation or persecution arises on account of the word, immediately they fall away." He gives examples of what happens in our world, in the human experience. And others are the ones sown among thorns. They are those who hear the word, but the cares of the word and the delight in riches and the desire for other things enter in and choke the word, and it proves unfruitful. Again, he's talking about our human experience. But those who were sown upon the good soil are the ones who hear the word and accept it and bear fruit 30-fold and 60-fold and 100-fold. And so the central theme here is the sower sows the word. Well, what is the word? Well, Jesus Christ is called the Word because he is the definitive revealing of who God is and what God is like. And that same Christ consciousness is present and alive in each one of us, waiting to be fully realized and expressed. Jesus is called the Word because he did fully realize, recognize, and express his kinship, his relationship with God in all its fullness, and lived his life as an expression of that relationship. We can each be that, be the full expression of the divine. We can each be that recipient of the message of love, of peace and joy and harmony and abundance, and not allow the distractions of the world in this human experience to alter our knowing of who we are and who we came here to be. We all have thorns in our garden, but whose garden is it? The thorns or yours? Seeds are always being planted in us and by us, by ourselves and others, intentionally or unintentionally. This is a little seedling. Precious, isn't it? I found this in our yard this week. I think it's a pumpkin or a squash seedling. We live by forest and trees all around us and woodland creatures. And when we have spaghetti squash, or we clean the innards out, or when we have our pumpkins, we toss those seeds into the woods near us to allow the animals to eat them. So I didn't plant this seed, yet here it is. This was unintentional. Much of how we go through life is unintentional. We're just trying to get by day by day. Well, we can get by with blinders on, not noticing those around us, not aware of our own thoughts. Our thoughts are prayers. We just heard that so beautifully sung. How we feel about ourselves, we can go on with blinders, not recognizing how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about others in our life, known or unknown to us. We can toss out seeds of mistrust, judgment, of condemnation, of fear and blame. Or we can choose awareness to change those thoughts, to choose different thoughts, more positive thoughts. We can recognize and acknowledge our individual and community role of planting seeds, being divine gardeners, and planting spiritual seeds of love and acceptance and understanding. We may never know how these spiritual seeds take root and grow. We only know that we are planters of the seeds. So let's look at this word plant, P-L-A-N-T, plant. The P can stand for purpose. That's setting our intention, being intentional about what we're growing. P, purpose. L is for love. For our intention is always to be backed by love. If this is a divine planting, then love is an integral part of everything we do. The A is for awareness, and awareness of how I'm moving through life, what thoughts I'm holding, what seeds I'm planting, so that I can choose. I can choose to plant the very best seeds and to live the very best life. The N is for nurturing, and we nurture our thoughts. We nurture ourselves by taking care of ourselves, by having good self-care, by spending time in prayer and meditation, by coming to church, by joining together in community and spiritual community with others, letting others know we love them and care about them. Those are the ways that we nurture those seeds. And then the last letter is T, trust. There's a great joy in releasing without expectation. For the roots are none of our business. We plant the seeds in life, and we may never know the outcome. And that is a great joy. The great joy in releasing without expectations. Only the seeds are our business. I am incredibly proud of the way this community has been planting seeds for many, many years, way before my time, and will continue to do so way, way after my time. For it's what we came here to do. Unity of the Keys has been planting seeds of acceptance, of love and compassion, of peace and harmony. We make decisions based upon our vision. We see humanity awake to its divinity, fully experiencing love, peace, and abundance. And this is accomplished through our mutual agreement, through consensus, and how we move forward. And we do that by listening to one another, considering varying viewpoints, and making decisions to the very best of our ability. It means engaging the community, drawing from your strengths and your creativity as you each draw from your own seeds of wisdom. For we are a mission-based or a mission-focused community, not a minister-based one. And our focus is clear. We're here to be a center of love, peace, and abundance for all. Those are the seeds we plant as we nurture our individual gardens. And what amazing gardeners and gardeners you each are. Accept that for a moment. Just for a moment, consider you are an amazing garden and you are an amazing gardener, each of you. I'll ask Nancy Mishka now, as our board president, to come up to the podium. We have been incredibly blessed by the planting of seeds by one individual in particular. We would now like to acknowledge and honor that person. So Nancy, I give the floor to you.
Thank you, Reverend Daybree. And it's my honor to be able to do this. As president of the Board of Trustees, to honor a member of our congregation today. This individual has given of herself, her time, her talent, and her treasure without reserve and with full commitment to this spiritual community. She recognized a need and she filled it. She sought ways to acknowledge the gifts of others, and she personally reached out to them, often regularly and consistently. She has blessed us with more than we could possibly name or identify. Nancy Callahan, would you mind joining me, please? Nancy has been our volunteer coordinator for, I'm not sure how long, at least a couple years, if not more. With all the love in our heart. Nancy recruited for platform assistants, ushers, hospitality folks, daily word readers, plus volunteers for any additional events beyond Sunday morning. You also committed to being in the office 2 days a week to help the office coordinator when we had one and when we didn't. You were always there, but she also did more. You made sure, along with Sally Dodd, the visitor packets were made and ready, birthday cards were sent, thank you cards were mailed. You absolutely are invaluable during the time of several months when we did not have an office coordinator. You made the decision to retire from your volunteer duties and will remain a viable, active member of our community. Nancy, we honor you and recognize the divine seeds you've been planting, because there are many. Please let us join together in giving Nancy our unity blessing. Get it warm, stand up, spread her a lot of love here. Ready? We bless you. We love you. We appreciate you, and we behold the Christ in you. God bless you, Nancy Callahan. We love you very much.